We will continue the story. Bashgocha Protes. Short little story, and this is it. Fine, it's here. So this was witnessed. This fellow Groening was a Mashpia in Lubavitch. So he related as follows. He was the Mashpia that taught Chassidus in Lubavitch. His name was Groening was his first name. No, just escaped me. Not me a second. Huh? I was thinking Shmuel, but I don't know. Could be. Anyway, he recalled that once the Rebbe Chaya Mushka, this is the Tzemach Tzedek's wife, our Rebbe, and his wife with the same name as their namesakes. They're not the namesakes. So she comes to her husband, Tzemach Tzedek, and she says, the youngest son, she's complaining, Rebbe Marash, who became Rebbe later, the seventh son, doesn't sleep. So she's coming to the father, her husband, you gotta do something. So in her presence, the Tzemach Tzedek says to his son, Rebbe Marash, why don't you sleep? I sleep as well. So she hears this, the Rebbetzin. She says, you sleep? She says, you don't sleep. And he says, but I lie down. In the story. So Groening, the Mashpia, would tell the story, would say, to lie down and not sleep, that's even greater. So I'm telling this story about our Rebbe, I'm just lately, I'm just talking about this. Everybody knows, I heard this from Krinsky himself. Years ago, so Ichi and I flew, Moishe Shabbos. We had this plan, I'll confess, unfortunately, we did not see it through. We used to go in the beginning of the Shlichus once a month to the Ohel, spend the night and write a detailed report of what's going on and come back. So the first time we went, we flew Moishe Shabbos. And we were up all night, writing. It took us 7 o'clock, whatever what time we flew back. So we saw, it was interesting. We saw, and I related this to Rabbi Krinsky later, that the only time that it was quiet, there's no visitors, was, I don't remember exactly, it was between 3 and 5 or something. Between 3 and 5, this is Sunday, 3 and 5 a.m. There's no visitors, we know. Otherwise, there were people coming all the time. This was, I'm talking 25 years ago. Now it's much more. And also, by the way, I remember there was one was interesting in the morning when we left, a couple drives up in a limousine, obviously very elegant couple. I didn't recognize them at all. They'd come from overseas, they come from the airport. The limousine was waiting. They went to the Ohel. They came back, limousine back to the airport. I don't know where they came from. They came just for this few minutes and went back to where they came. Anyway, so I told about Rabbi Krinsky, that was interesting between 3 and 5. He says that's interesting because that's when the Rebbe slept. Maybe the hours were, but it's like a 2-3 hour window. A 2-3 hour window. He says, interesting, that's when the Rebbe used to sleep. Okay, that was then. I'm sure people are coming now. Why? And this is my point. Tzemach Tzedek, the Rebbe Marash, the sleep was, what kind of sleep was this? A Rebbe's sleep. What I'm saying is this, friends. Even this the Rebbe doesn't have now. Since Gimel Tammuz, even this he doesn't have. Whatever that sleep was. 24/7 here with us. And for those who are listening, this will be a story. It's a segue into what I want to talk about this morning. I was learning with my kids last night. My daughters, and I said, the Rebbe is not in Gan Eden. The Rebbe is not in Gan Eden. He didn't go to Gan Eden. I said, how do you know? First of all, the answer to that is anybody that observed the Rebbe for a month, a week, even a day, would say this is a Jew that's not going into Gan Eden until it's going to be good for every Yid. It's a Mashiach. It's just, you don't have to be a chassid or a makubal. You just look at this man, his life, his entire being. He's not going. But the Rebbe has actually told us in a most extraordinary event. This is what happened. You guys know the story. 5 years before Gimel Tammuz. 5 years. It's printed, edited. It was the 5th of Tammuz, Parshas Korach, the same Parshas as Gimel Tammuz. And the Rebbe at the end of the Farbrengen tells a story. This was very unusual because he didn't tell stories in the later years, early years a little bit more. And what's even more unusual is that he smiled before he said the punchline. The Rebbe smiles in the middle of Farbrengen before he speaks. Something is going on. He's sweetening something, sweetening a harsh judgment. That's what a smile of a tzaddik is. And thirdly, the story that he told was edited and published as part of the published talks of that Shabbos, published in the Allgemeine Journal for the whole world. Not everything he said that day got into the edited publication. This story with the smile. What did he say? So the Rebbe said that there were Gedolei, he said Gedolei saw great Jewish people that promised before they died, they're not going into Gan Eden until Mashiach comes. He didn't say who, but it was the Baditcheva and others. It's all like there's quite a number of tzaddikim that said this. Now, the fact is, they died, Mashiach didn't come. And what happened? So he said that the later Godel, who also made that promise, said, what happened to the one before? That one before is that heaven found a way to get them in. He said about the Baditcheva, he said he's not going inside till. So Gan Eden said, you're not coming inside? We'll just make him Gan Eden bigger. They got zoning approval immediately. Next thing you know, he's in Gan Eden. And they tell different stories. Other one, they were saying, Kedusha inside. So he lost himself and jumped in to join to say Kedusha. This is all metaphors. What it means is that the revelation and the insight that happens in Gan Eden is such that you make peace with whatever's happening in the world. It's all good. It's all good. So then the Rebbe Sman said, so what's the solution? It appears that what's the solution? He smiled and he said the solution is if a person makes a promise, halacha, if a person makes a neder al das rabim, a person makes a vow linked to the community, to their not opinion, but you need their permission. So such a vow cannot be released. Basically, it can't be released. You link it to the community, it's like out of your hands, and you're not being released. That's the solution. As if to say, he's making this neder. You were shocked. I wasn't there. I heard about Farbrengen Motzei Shabbos. Rebbe tells the story. We thought he meant the Rebbetzin maybe, because she passed away, not long before the previous year. Maybe he meant her. No one thought he's talking about himself, and it's exactly 5 years before. So the Rebbe is saying, like, for some reason he needed to or wanted to link his commitment to a halacha, a vow that's made contingent upon the many can't be released. So all to say to our story, if he had some rest when he was here, whatever that was, that's Tzemach Tzedek's rest. He's lying down but not sleeping, whatever that means. Doesn't have that even now as well. Right, friends.